Well, hello everybody. Hello music fans. My name is Artie Astor from Artie Astor Music, and this is another episode of B Sharp and C. And I wanted to actually take a deep dive into the unknown. Take a deep dive into the obscure. Take a deep dive into something that is overlooked. And it's easy to overlook certain things because certain things don't even make an attempt to be mainstream. And I dare say blues sax has never been mainstream, but yet it is something that when you listen to, you almost always end up asking yourself, why? Why is blues sax not mainstream? And I can sit here and rattle off a few reasons why I think blues sax is not mainstream, but that is not my purpose. Although I probably at some point will try to explain why I think blues saxophone is not mainstream. But it is something appreciated by a lot of people. And when people hear saxophone, they always go to either jazz or the 80s, right? And I can't wait until I get a microphone I can clip on so I can gesture without like hitting this microphone here. God. Anyways, okay, so let's get started. I am going to introduce to y'all a saxophone player called Sax Gordon. And my first time watching him play was a couple of years ago. It was on YouTube. I've never met the guy. I've never seen him live. He's from Chile, I think. Yeah, I'm reading it. Oh, live in Chile with the Rhythm and Blues Band. So I actually don't know where he's from, but if he is Chilean, and I again, I try to do these shows without doing too much background research. So I really know nothing about Sax Gordon except that I saw him play a couple years ago, and I remember thinking to myself, give me a couple of years of playing saxophone. I'll be playing like this. And it now has been 2 years and like 4 months of me playing saxophone, and I'm not 1/100th of the saxophone player he is. He's very raw and very expressive. It's almost kind of like, I know I've done a couple episodes on Vanessa Collier, who is very expressive and she's kind of off the cuff when it comes to certain things. And Sax Gordon is too, but he's actually, in my opinion, he comes across as a little bit more raw, more kind of off the cuff, where Vanessa Collier focuses a lot on the songwriting aspect of things and leaves room for certain things. You know, she leaves room to play off the cuff and to improvise and to maybe make last minute changes or whatever. Every musician is different. I would never look at Joe Bonamassa and say he's the same type of guitarist as David Gilmour. I've seen David Gilmour improvise and do like blues improv. He does not sound like Joe Bonamassa, right? But I also think that, you know, when Joe Bonamassa writes a well-crafted guitar solo, he doesn't necessarily do to it the same thing that David Gilmour would do to a well-crafted guitar solo. I can tell Dave Gilmour spends a lot of time saying, I am not going to bend to the 2. I'm going to bend from the 2 to the 3 on this one, and then bounce it up and go from the 3 to the 4 type of thing. And that's how he plays it every time. And Joe Bonamassa does not do that. I get the impression from watching Sax Gordon play that he has a very good idea as to how he wants to play and as to what he wants to play, but he leaves it all out there for the actual performance. That's the impression I get, that he has a few tricks up his sleeve that he likes to maybe do, but I really get the impression he's trying his best to kind of allow a free communicative flow with the saxophone. So that's what this episode of B Sharp and C is going to be about. It's going to be about one of his live performances. So let's saddle in and get ready for Sax Gordon in today's episode of B Sharp and C. Okay, so there we have it. It's queued up. And this is a live performance. This is the song The Way It Is, a song in Chile. This is one of his live performances from 2018. All right, so there's growling and then there's rolling your tongue while you play. I think he's rolling his tongue right there. You can almost tell by the shape of his face that he's angling everything so he can get his tongue to roll. 'Cause that sounds like a tongue roll right there. That is not easy to do. I cannot do that. Yeah. So there's growling while you play, blowing a note, and then going while you play, which makes the saxophone scream. But you can do that and roll your tongue, or you can blow and roll your tongue. I have not found a way to do it and keep my mouth closed over the reed and mouthpiece to get that sound. That is a unique ability that if you can do it, you have another tool in the toolbox that you can use as a sax player. All right, so before we get into the laid back playing where the band pulls back a little bit so he can play, he does a couple things there that I think are really nice. First of all, he's not afraid to just be physical with the saxophone, and I feel like those saxophone players are usually the best. The ones who just get physical with it. And Vanessa does that too, Vanessa Collier, and I've seen a lot of great saxophone players do that. They kind of they hold it tight. It's like I don't know. I can't really explain it, but he's not afraid to get physical with it. And it's a tenor saxophone, so they are heavier and bigger. But he just lays right into it, and I love it. And I love how he holds certain notes, and as you see, as the video goes on, you'll see that he has the fantastic ability to play blues licks and to play beautiful phrases and everything else, and to add these great inflections and do all these wonderful tricks. But just holding a note and letting the growl come out, or just holding the note and letting that the roll of the tongue that come out, that goes a long way. That's when you're comfortable with what you're doing as an instrumentalist. You're able to just hold a note because you have other things you're going to do later in the song. There's nothing wrong with simplicity. And plus, that's not simple. Holding a good tone for a long period of time requires a lot of practice. This is hard to do too. I like his vibrato. Oh, God. So right away, the band is pulled back, and now it's low volume, and it's just featuring what the saxophone is able to do, and he's still just going in and out of all these little tricks he has up his sleeve. And I love that. I love that. There are a lot of things you can do with the saxophone that people don't realize. Everyone looks at the guitar as like an instrument where you can be innovative and just do weird things. Do a pinched harmonic or rake into a bend or use the whammy bar or do a pull on and a pull off or whatever the case is. There are a lot of things you can do with the guitar. The saxophone has so many little tricks that you can do, some with the fingers, most with the mouth and tongue and throat. I mean, you can literally angle the back of your throat a certain way to get a different tone out of the saxophone. And a lot of viewers don't always see that. Why? Well, because you don't see inside the guy's mouth. You don't see him rolling his tongue. You don't see him opening up the back of his throat to get kind of like a to change the tone a little bit. When I open up the back of my throat, when I'm already playing a note that requires my throat to be not as open, it's because I'm trying to tease the reed a little bit. I don't want to go into an overtone and accidentally jump up a fifth. So I kind of tease the reed by maybe doing something with my throat that I normally would do if I were playing a note in a different part of the saxophone. So in essence, at that point, what I'm doing is getting a different tone out of the reed because the reed is about to change its pitch completely. It's about to say, oh, he's trying to play a low note when I'm actually playing something more in the middle register or higher register. But doing that with the back of my throat gets a different tone out of the reed. You just have to be careful you don't overdo it because then you'll get an ugly sound. I like how he goes from low to high um, pretty seamlessly. That's not easy to do. That's all in the throat.
Martin, come on, help me
The cameraman needs to show the fingers. Come on. It's a nice guitar playing. Sounds like he's using the bridge pickup. Although I can't tell. And I just want to say the brass accompaniment in the background, and I know a saxophone is not a brass instrument. I don't care. I call it the brass section. The saxophone and the trumpet in the background just kind of doing their little thing for accompaniment. That's not easy to do. And you have to make sure you're tuned, first of all, and you have to play spot on. Because if you have weak mouth placement or poor mouth placement, or you do something wrong with your mouth, both the trumpet and the saxophone will change pitch. And if you're supposed to be playing at the same pitch as another instrument, it's going to sound horrible. So that requires a lot of mouth control, as we call it, the embouchure. All right, for as much as I like this song and I like this video, they need to show the guitar player. All right. I understand the smiling faces of people, and Sax Gordon is enjoying this the guitar player and everything. But you know what? We want to enjoy it too. Like, put the camera back on the guitar player, and they show his face, show his fingers. I mean, you're teasing us by showing like 1/3 of the guitar. So he just went into altissimo range there, which is fun to do, and he did it with some great tone. Oh, I love that. Okay, so there you have it. The song "The Way It Is" by Sax Gordon, and the Rhythm and Blues Band, live in Chile. I do believe that it was live. It looked like a live performance. I know that in post you can do stuff. When I was on Facebook, I was Facebook friends with someone who did a lot of live performances on Facebook, and it was interesting that the performances were recorded live and then sent to their engineer, and then the engineer would say, oh, look, the keyboard player missed a chord, and then they would go in post and edit. So she admitted that a lot of their live performances were edited in post, and I still consider that a live performance. To be completely honest with you, I would be a little bit upset if there was a band playing live, even if I were in a band and I were playing live at Wembley Stadium and it was recorded. They were going to make a movie out of it. I would want there to be people working on the film who knew how to edit, because things happen. Live performances aren't always pristine, right? So I don't know what they did here as far as editing is concerned, but I think it's a really good performance. I love how and I've seen a few Sax Gordon videos, and I chose this one because and there are other ones out there, especially ones that show even more of what he's capable of doing, but I just wanted to choose something nice, a nice blues song, something nice and easy, something that features what he does, and how physical he is, how emotional he gets when he plays. And I love how when he plays certain notes and he holds them, and he almost is like choking the saxophone. He's shaking it back and forth, but he's kind of like shaking his body, not necessarily the saxophone. He's kind of like shaking his body with the saxophone in hand, And you can do that with a tenor sax. With an alto, you can do that as well. It just doesn't feel the same. A tenor has a lot more weight to it. But this guy plays with a ton of feeling, a ton of expression, and he has a lot of tricks. And I just wanted to do a quick episode of B Sharp and C on someone that I bet none of y'all have even heard of, right? I had to go looking for Sax Gordon when I started playing the saxophone. He didn't just jump out at me as someone I should go listen to, Other names did. To be honest with you, a lot of the really big saxophone names I have gone and listened to. They're not always as great as I would expect them to be. I actually identify a lot more with this type of playing because it's a little bit looser. you know, and I do like that freeness of expression. And you can see that that's what he has here. At any rate, I just wanted to introduce everyone to Sax Gordon. I wanted to get it out there. It's something that I've listened to a few of his songs over the years, and I think that he's just marvelous. I just love the way he plays. And I just love how he just has fun with it. And you can tell that a lot of what he's doing is just free expression, and I think that that's great. So, at any rate, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching the video, and stay tuned for the next episode of B Sharp and C. This is Artie Astor saying, keep it groovy.